Seems like every time that I start to do a video here, there's going to be the sound of jet fighters in the sky. These engines, they run all day around here. And when you'll notice the location is recognizable. If you study my videos, I've been here before, and I've got gold on my mind because of the reports, and it makes me want to explain the whole economic financial outlook. Not that I'm telling people to go out and get gold, it's just so that we understand how the world is run. Not the whole world, but just that world. What happens is that money is made and it needs to be standardized by a certain material. So gold was that. And for a long time, it seemed to be just something universal and absolute, but it wasn't, because gold is just an arbitrary decision. It does have some nice qualities to it, and gold seems to be shiny and colorful. It's got that yellowish sheen, and that's been connected with like attraction and greed for it. So, this is a stereotype. Anybody can just love silver to the same extent. Anyone could just love iron. Iron has a lot of uses. So there's a lot of materials, and gold happened to be the one that they chose. They set up a very complex system which made the gold as a standard. But what happened was, when they created the computer and they created the system of counting the money by electronic means, they found they could create much more money for much more people, and many, many more schemes of business were going on. Now, that means there would never be enough gold to match the amount of money that they created out of thin air. So this is very possible that it is the present situation. There's also a possibility that there's much more gold and they're just keeping it scarce, or they're hiding it. But it all depends on the value that you place on gold. If a certain amount of gold is $1 or $1,000, like right now, the spot price for the ounce of gold, and it's not like exact measurement of an ounce, the typical ounce. They call it something else because it's a different measurement of an ounce. It's a gold ounce. There's a term that they use, I forget right now. So they tip of my tongue. What kind? Gold. But anyhow, the spot price that you can get is about, I think it's $1,380 right now. $1,380. So correct me if I'm wrong. But people say that it will go up into the thousands and thousands and even approach 10,000. That'll be a crazy day, because that means there's so much money in the world that has to boil down to gold value, and by default that's becoming a gold standard again, because if the value of gold goes up, the value of gold just continues to go down compared with the amount of money there is, then that means it's really getting devalued, because you know that the fiat currency is already getting devalued. And that's because there's nothing to really standardize it against. If there's no solid measure to divide that money into, then you're going to end up with a problem. Okay, what they keep doing is floating this. This is just basic mathematical logic. And now they've got the calculations say about 9 times as much as there really was. Like if there was an amount of money in 1913, they've ballooned it and borrowed on it and borrowed against the borrowed amount so much that if you add up what's on all the ledgers, all the accounts, all the interest, in all the banks, especially the central banks and the global scheme of things, the global banks, the really big ones, there was never that much money to begin with. And it's just multiplied on top of itself, even though they never really printed that much. It was never in circulation. It was only circulating within this digital thing and never really went into anybody's hands. So, the more that you dig into this to find out what's going on, the more that you realize, wow, this is like a whole big scheme. And they're just taking people's real money and investing it in to get a whole bunch of more money. And it ends up being these Ponzi schemes that they keep pushing along so that you never really find out until it's too late. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's a pyramid setup. Just like they run a lot of these marketing, the merchandising, where they market it. And, these goods that they trade within a closed consumer network can only run by doing it like a Ponzi scheme, because it motivates the people on the top to keep everybody else in line in the lower tiers of this. So this is the way banking is set up. So getting back to the gold, there was an interesting story that really made me want to talk about the whole thing. And I found out on Max Keiser report, because he's always talking about really these radically aware, issues, and he'll get together all these facts and lay it on you. So he has a show that's hosted by Russia Today, RT Times, or whatever they call it. They have a lot of different names, and they're international, so it's Russian backed. And he found out that the Germans were being questioned. Now, all this is documentable. You look last week, and you'll see that there was a controversy because certain voices. Now, I'm not so too clear on what they were, but certain voices were inquiring to the German officials, including Merkel and the what is it, the Bundestag, or the Bundesbank, or whatever is the central bank there. And they said, do you know where your gold is and how it's doing? The German national stash. And raising doubts about it was not common. It hasn't really been going on. It's a new thing. As I said, we're going off the gold standard, so everybody was looking away from that for many, many years. In fact, decades. Since World War II, basically. So to raise this question to where Germany it's just been comfortable without any dependence